And we're recording. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Bad Design Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Riley. Finally, we're back. It's been about a 2-3 month hiatus here. Been pretty busy, but I'm excited to be back. And we got a special guest here, Daniel Goldfarb. Daniel, appreciate you taking the time. I know we've had issues trying to set up this up. Plus, you're in New Zealand, so some time issues there.
Dude, listen, Sean, thank you so much for having me on, man. It honestly is a struggle because I think we worked it out just before we started here. It's like I think I'm ahead of you by 16 hours or something absurd like that. So yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle to set this up, but I'm happy to be here, man.
I appreciate it, absolutely. And for most people who don't know you, I think I got to know you through social media. Clearly, you're only, correct me if I'm wrong, you're 18 or 19 years old?
I'm 18. I'll
18.
turn 19 in a couple months.
Okay, so it's inspiring graphic designer, right? That's like the career path I think you're headed towards, unless I'm wrong.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so I first followed you on social media through Posterizes. That's where I kind of gotten to know you and your work, and I would say that you've gotten pretty big off your retouching and your ability, your treatment ability. I'm amazed at how well you do it. Like, it is some really high quality stuff. How did you, because not many people are able to do that. How did you accumulate this style over time?
I think it's a couple of things. When you talk about retouching, a lot of people like to, so let me first I want to preface it by saying that I feel like people have different definitions of retouching, right?
You're right.
And I feel like the way that I do my retouching is it's not too overboard, but at the same time it's not just a dodge and burn effect. It's like,
exactly,
you work with the color treatment, you work with texture, you work with lighting, you do a bunch of different things. And the way that I've kind of developed my style I hate to give kind of a plain answer here, but it was just 2 years of, practice. Obviously I've been using Photoshop for 4 or 5 years now, and I've gotten used to, the adjustment layers and what they do specifically. But yeah, man, I think I started like 2 years ago, just really trying to work on my craft and, perfect that style. But people think, I just want to say this because I know that there's people going to be listening to this and they know of my retouching. If you are interested in retouching and you like the style that I kind of put out, a few of the things that I like to do is, first of all, I just want to say don't go overboard. And what I mean by that is, I don't want to see anybody changing the colors, drastically changing the colors of the players' jerseys, or making the player's skin color look completely different. You don't need to do that. To me, that's going overboard. That's not what retouching is about. And the beauty in retouching for me is just being able to layer different adjustment layers over top of each other to get that color treatment that you're talking about, or to take the focus and put it directly onto one player, even though there's 4 or 5 different players in the same photo. There's all these different things, but a few of the tips that I could give people is just make sure that, number one, I think one of the biggest things is the choice of photo. I think that it's almost an obvious answer, but sometimes we see a photo that just looks so damn good, and we're like, this is it. This is the photo. I want to retouch this photo, but it may not be the best quality. It may be a little bit fuzzy, and you have to do some extra sharpening to it, or there might be other players in the photo that are clearly distracting from the main subject. So there's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration when choosing a photo. But I often spend hours just browsing to find the photo. And sometimes you'll find a photo that you think it's the one, and you go to retouch it and it just doesn't look right. Absolutely. So a lot of what I do is filtering through photos, making sure that I have what I want. And usually what I want is a photo that has the main focus is obviously in focus, but the depth of field, the photographer used a shallow depth of field, which means that the player is in the foreground and he's clear, but the background, the crowd, or wherever he may be, is relatively blurry. So you get a good kind of background to the main focus of the whole retouch. Because I see a lot of people try to do retouching, but the way that the photographer has taken the photo is that it almost looks like the player and the background are equally as visible. Like the background isn't blurry at all. Like the player is just sitting right in front of the background. And that's very, very, very hard to make look good, because you have to then separate the focus, right, by using adjustments like color dodge and what's it called, burn, the burn effect.
Yeah.
You have to do a bunch of different things to make that that focus pop out from the background. So that's the first thing that I always do in my process. It's make sure that you find a photo that will help you make the best retouch. And the second thing is, I kind of talked about it in the first part of this, is just like the color treatment. Please, if I don't like when people go overboard. Now, this is a thing that you have to play around a bit, right? You have to make sure that you are, you're not oversaturating, or you're not going overboard with like I said, you don't want to change the hue and saturation of, people's skin tones. You don't want to make them look any like weirder. You don't want people like to have red like skin. Like you don't want to do any of that. Just play it simple,
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Continue.
No, I was just saying a lot of people, I think, struggle with keeping it simple. They go way overboard and ruin the quality of even the image itself.
That's the biggest thing. Like I really want to nail that into people's minds. Like, please do not go overboard, because to me, retouching is more about the simplicity of it. It's not a design. Obviously, there's a separation between a retouch and a design, and it's clear. A retouch is relatively simple, and so one of the things that you have to do is, when you're doing your color correction, I like to do the color last. Okay, so if you hypothetically, let's say we're looking at Photoshop right now, I'm going to the adjustments panel and I'm choosing like the curves. I'm going to take the curves down a little bit. I'm going to mess with the levels. I'm going to mess with the hue and saturation, maybe a bit of the vibrance. I mean, it depends on the image, whatever. But yeah, I always start with those basics before I even go into the color lookups, the gradient maps, and like adjusting the curves on like specific color layers. Like there's obviously, I like to do that as like the final touches. I almost want to start making like YouTube videos just to show people the process, because to me it's kind of hard to explain, but you like I said, when you practice and practice and practice, you get an idea of what you need to do. And there's a process that I use that helps me get to that same point with every retouch. And I think the process starts with just making sure you have a good photo. Once you figured out you like that photo, it's perfect. Then you start with one of the things that I like to do in my retouch is, it's pretty obvious, but I like the dark kind of look. So if I have a photo, I'll usually take the curves down a little bit, because I like to have that kind of like grungy dark look to it. And the way that I balance out a sharp curve is by adding an exposure layer, and I just take the exposure up a little bit so that those harsh blacks actually become soft grays or soft blacks, and they don't become super, super harsh. Because I see people and they do these fantastic retouches, but in my head I'm picturing, oh man, if you could have added that one exposure layer to balance out, just to make those blacks not so strong, you're perfect.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to explain, because it's such like a second nature to me now.
Yeah.
Like I know the process like the back of my hand. I just kind of dive into it. But really, the biggest thing is do not overdo it with your colors. Stay simple, and two, find a good photo that works for you. That's really it.
Like the photo part to me is one of the most difficult part of doing the retouch, because unless you have a Getty Images pass, cycling through Google Photos you're not getting the highest of quality. Like, you're not getting the sweat dripping down their face always in a lot of images. So I totally agree with you on the image can really make or break how well you could retouch. How well your retouch will be, and then the rest is just executing your process, like you explained there.
Right. Yeah, a big part of it is the photo choice, and it's you can say the same thing about designs. Choosing the right photo is literally everything. It makes or breaks the design. It's the biggest thing in my opinion. So when I see people like asking, "Oh my God, how did you get the player to look so high quality?" Well, to be honest with you, I mean, yeah, I did a little bit of dodge and burn here and there, some HDR toning, but in reality, props to the photographer, because he got the player in focus. Right. That's really important.
Yeah. I don't think people realize how important photography is in anything, but particularly in sports design, when the product is literally the player, and you need to get the best photos to tell your story through social, and it's such a big part of everything. But outside of yourself, like, is there anyone else you look at and you think their retouching skills are almost you look up to them? Is there anyone like you were like inspired by? You know what I mean?
That's a good question, because I don't really, off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody who does like retouches specifically. I know there's a few people on Twitter. I don't want to mess up their names here. I think Ryan Keep is a guy on Twitter who has, I think he saw some of my retouches and he started to produce himself, and he's pretty talented. I mean, there's so many guys that I've drawn inspiration from.
I don't know if you know Zach Lance from Pitt. I think he does great retouching.
Oh my God, he's one of my favorites. See, there's so many people. There's so many like names in the back of my mind right now. It's gonna be hard to pull them out. But yeah, Zach. I mean, I'm so excited, for Pitt, because when they got Zach, they really turned around their whole creative. Like, honestly, if you look at before they had Zach, look at their social media, and then after they had Zach, it's game changing. Like, he did so much for Pitt. It's so awesome to see.
Right. Yeah, I love his his retouching to me is like yours. Like it's very high quality, and he's one of the only people I know who can do it. I think Joe, I'm gonna butcher his name too, Calhoun, the guy on the Cavs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, his retouching is great. He has a texture that he applies over his that really bring it all together. But those are really the only two that pop off in my head outside yourself.
Honestly, I would agree, because those guys, it's awesome to see this though, because when you put my retouches right next to Joey's retouches, there you can tell. You can say, okay, this is Daniel's, this is Joey's.
Right.
Even though, and you could say the same thing. Like, I would put Zach's retouches on the same level as Joey's or Joe, right? But while they're at the same level of quality, for me, it's so cool that I can easily pick out, like, that's Zach and that's Zoe, that's Joey. Like, I can make that that call, because I think, like you said, Joe uses this specific coloring, and he uses this overlay on most of his retouches, which is really cool. And then you have Zach, who, oh my God, he utilizes the blue and gold so damn well.
Oh yeah,
and it looks fantastic.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's honestly, he posted a LaShawn McCoy one. I don't know how long ago, his retouch.
Yeah.
And I was just mind blown how great of a job he did on that.
Trust me, those two guys are, a big source of inspiration for me. I think, they've taken it down retouching in their own way. They've kind of made it their own style, which I think is pretty important because as simple as retouching is, if you can find a way to put your own twist on it, I mean, you're good to go. I mean, honestly.
So I wanna kind of talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers position you got
Sure.
last year. That was pretty cool. I know that was something. I mean, you've been covering the Steelers with the City of Steel account for a while, and so how
Right.
talk about how that even came about. Like, how did they get in touch with you, or you get in touch with them for this thing to come together?
So this is actually a pretty interesting story. Well, actually, I don't want to make it seem bigger than it is, but I think that for anybody who's listening right now who is trying to get into design or trying to get new clients, I feel like this is really important for you to hear because even when I think about it, it's just mind-boggling to me how this even happened. But I cannot stress the importance of marketing yourself through Instagram and Twitter. That's what I want to say first because I was able to market myself on Twitter and create this brand, obviously called Deg Arts, and I've been able to gain followers on Instagram, whatever. But Twitter has been so good for me in terms of connecting with other artists and connecting with possible clients. And to be honest with you, that's exactly how I got the Steelers job. I was on Twitter and I happened to find the Steelers social media coordinator, and it was as simple as just me picking up my phone and DMing him, hey, what's your email? I'd like to send you a few things, or maybe we could talk about a possible job. I'd love to work with you. I would love to be under your wing. If I can do anything for you, please just let me know. Here's my email, whatever. So it's kind of weird. It's a little bit embarrassing, but I was so obsessed with getting this job. By the way, if you know me, you know I'm the biggest Steelers fan.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I'm actually currently looking at my signed Antonio Brown jersey hanging on the wall right now, just looking at greatness as we speak. I've been the biggest Steelers fan for so long, since I was a kid, and my dream when I started to design was to work with them. And it was kind of a shot in the dark, just messaging this guy, DMing him on Twitter, just saying like, hey, here's my email, please, I'll do anything. And so I got his email, and this was a while ago, so I can't really remember the first initial emails that we exchanged, but I do remember that there was a point where he didn't seem very interested, and I could tell that. It was pretty obvious, but I kept sending him things. Like, he wouldn't respond, but I would just send him things and hope that he would see it, and he would be like, this is really cool, actually, we want to use this. So I think I sent him, like, I was just sending him retouches, right? I was just sending him random stuff that I was working on, and he saw one of the things that I sent him, and I think it was for, like, the 2017 preseason. It was like a preseason graphic or something, and he saw that, and he was like, hey, this is actually really cool. Do you mind if we post it on our social medias? And I said, yeah, absolutely, please do that. That would make my day. That would make my year. Another thing I do want to say is that the Steelers job I did totally for free, and you can. So I didn't get paid for it at all, and usually I am the type of guy who I don't like to work for free because I believe that you have to value your work and you should know how much you cost. But in this situation, I knew that being able to add the Pittsburgh Steelers to my portfolio was just, that's big time.
Right.
So I realized that while I was, messaging him and while I was emailing him, I was like, look, I'll do anything for free. Like, I will be your assistant. I will do whatever. Because at that point, I just really, really, really wanted to work for the Steelers. And to be able to say that I produced for my favorite sports team at like 17 years old, it's a dream. That's a dream come true, really. So I made sacrifices, sure. I didn't get paid, okay. But I was able to, accomplish a goal that I had since I started designing. And from him looking at that preseason graphic that I sent him and him posting it, I think from then we kind of had like this this understanding that I was really, I was gonna do anything. Like seriously, and I was cool with it too. Like if he was like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" I was like, "Absolutely, let's do it." Um, so from the preseason graphic, I think I've made one more graphic for like Josh Dobbs, like a rookie a couple years ago, and then after preseason, he emailed me back and he said, "Hey, listen, we really like your work and we want you to produce a graphic for every game of the season this year." And when I got that email, I was like, "Oh, yeah, yes. Can we do this now? Like, can I get started now? Like, please, holy shit, let's do it." And he was really cool about it because he knew who I was. He'd seen my work, and he said, "You know what? Here, I'm giving you, full creative freedom, and just do your thing." And so I was able to create, I think it was 18 total graphics by the end of the year for every single game, including playoff games. And it was tough. It was honestly really tough because, trust me when I say that those files got so large, and on my shitty old MacBook, oh my God, like, dude, like, it was bad. By the end of the season, my laptop would like overheat when I even tried to open up the Photoshop document. Like, it was getting bad, but no, it was a really cool opportunity for me. And I not only made a friend, but I also got a really good client, and I accomplished one of my goals. So a lot of people don't understand that, one, you can sacrifice payment if you're just starting out in design.
Yeah.
You can do things for free, but you don't have to. I'm just saying you can do it if you want to. All you're doing is you're paying in time, your own time. But that's some of the steps that some people have to take. If, like, just for example, I know people who I'm talking to who are relatively new in the design community, in the industry, and they've only been working for about a year, but they still haven't gotten a client yet. And I think about that, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense because it took me 2 years to get my first client. But you can go out of your way to do things for free, and you can get clients free. I mean, they can get you for free. So I mean, you can really put yourself out there and do stuff, and just to bulking up your portfolio. But here's the thing. The biggest when I got the Steelers job, the biggest realization that I had was how powerful Twitter is as a social media platform.
Right.
I saw you post a poll. You're like, "What do you use Twitter for?" Was that you?
Yeah, that was me. Yep.
Yeah, that was you. The options were like to market, for news, and then what was the other option?
It was networking, news and updates, and then to show your work.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure more than 60% people chose all of the above because it's true. Like, really, you can use Twitter. It's such a multifaceted platform because you can do all of those things at the same time. But people, like young kids like myself, I didn't really realize at the time that it's one of the best marketing tools that I have. I thought that I was just posting retouches and just getting inspiration from other people on Twitter, getting news, whatever. But really, I'm networking. I know you are too. If you're a designer and you're in the community, you network on Twitter. You follow people from different universities. You follow different creatives. You talk to people through DMs. It's just a really good place to network. And I mean, if that Steelers story doesn't motivate you to fire up the old Twitter again, listen, man, trust me.
Fire up the old Twitter.
You can DM someone and get a job the next day. Like, you never know. But, yeah.
It's good you bring that up because I think Instagram, it's where we started, and most of us in the posterizes kind of group had. Instagram became such a child or kid-based platform. Like, I would have to guess the ages on Instagram, or majority people who design or like artwork on there are under the age of 18. Where Twitter, there's a lot more professional creatives. Like you said, you can follow more of the professional creatives on Twitter. You can network better on Twitter. and it's really found its place, especially for me. Early on, like you said, I just kind of posted things on Twitter to get the likes that I thought I could get on Instagram, and that was never the case. Like, that never correlated. Instagram seems to be a much better platform for you to get likes on your work, and Twitter seems like a better place to network. And I definitely encourage young inspiring graphic designers to get on Twitter and network, because it always is about who you know, not what you know, or how good you are. That doesn't always help. So you gotta
Absolutely, man.
But that's a good story. That Steelers story is a good story. I was curious how you got it, and even though you did it for free, you're right. Look, opportunity, especially when you're that young in your career, weighs over the pay, and I'm glad you told that. That's pretty cool. Was there any creative process there? Like, did he come to you with ideas at all, or was it always just just do your thing?
A little bit. He came to me and he said, for example, I just used the graphic for every game kind of thing. He said, basically, all we need is just the time, the location, the state, time, location, and the week. And that was kind of it. But he was like, just do your thing. So it was a cool opportunity, like I said, because there was really no restrictions in terms of creativity. He gave me photos to use as well. It was just I had full creative freedom.
Wow, that's a pretty cool gig, though. That's something you put on your resume, and that would definitely catch some eyes. So that's a neat opportunity.
I mean, before we even wrap up, like the talking about Twitter and stuff, I just want to say that, man, trust me, if you're not on Twitter, please get on Twitter, and please market and network, because you have no idea who you could meet, who you could just randomly talk to, and please, when I started designing, let me just say that when I started designing, I thought in the back of my mind, there is no way in hell that I'm ever working for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, let's just be honest, because it's not happening. But Twitter, man, it'll happen on Twitter. Come on, guys, get on Twitter, man. I'm telling you, get on Twitter.
Twitter makes dreams come true, I guess, huh?
Oh yeah, that's their new motto, man.
They're like Disney, right? Making dreams come true.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Dan, like you said, you're 18. Are you looking to go to college now and get your degree? Like, what is your plan moving forward?
Sean, that's a great question, man. That is a really, really good question. Wow. Okay, so basically, I'm in my gap year right now, which means that, well, you know what a gap year is, but the New Zealand school systems are year-round, which means that, I graduated high school probably about, 8 months ago, which is kind of confusing compared to, the U.S. times, but I graduated high school, and at this point, when I was 16, I incorporated my first company while I was in high school, as well as doing freelance graphic design on the side. So, there was things that were holding me back from going to university just right off the bat, out of high school, because I didn't necessarily, and I still don't know what I want to study, but I feel like I have a lot of opportunity in graphic design. But not only that, but just in terms of social media marketing, I feel like we'll get into. That's really what my company is about. I run it with one of my good friends, and we can get into it a little bit later. But yeah. I'm at the point where, I've graduated high school, and I'm just in my gap year, just working as a freelance graphic designer, doing jobs through the company, and just hanging out, trying to assess everything before I just jump right into a random degree. I want to make sure that I'm doing something that I like.
For sure. Oh, that was good to know. I was curious because, like you said, New Zealand's school system is very different from the United States. Like, we don't have a gap year. That I mean, after you graduate high school, you have 4 months until you go to college.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely more common down here to take a gap year. but it's kind of weird now that I think about it.
You had mentioned there that you had incorporated your own company now. I'm guessing you're talking about the Interlude, the design agency you started.
Right. Yeah.
So talk
So
about that a little bit. Yep.
yeah. If you know me, you know that if you know me in person, you know that I'm the kind of guy to experiment with everything. I try to, when I was like 12 or 13, I started to get into design because I wanted to try it out. I wanted to, produce videos at one point. I wanted to start a podcast at one point. I'm just this weird creative loop where I just want to make everything. But so that's kind of where the company came from, because I was sitting at the desk that I'm sitting at right now with one of my good friends, and we're in high school. We're both 16, and we realize that the New Zealand market is so open in terms of website creation, social media marketing and consulting, and graphic design. The market is really open because, actually, I don't know for what reason, but compared to like Australia and the US, New Zealand is relatively far behind in terms of just, social media and technology. Obviously we have like we get the new iPhones, we get the new MacBooks, but people here still use traditional marketing. Like local businesses will put money into billboards instead of putting money into social media marketing. So there's still some, obvious differences there. But we saw that and we were like, hey, we have a really good opportunity here. Why not, take advantage and start a company? But it actually started even more, earlier than that, because I know you know who Casey Neistat is. I know maybe most people know who he is. I actually started watching his videos when he started doing daily vlogs a couple years ago, and I loved watching him because I loved the idea of producing videos. I don't know why, but at that point in my life, I was just obsessed with video production and creating content, because it was that one step up from, just producing like static graphic designs.
Right.
So I got really intrigued by it, and at this point I had a camera. It was like I think it was like it was like a Nikon D3200 or something. I still have it today, but I had this camera that I was supposed to be using for photography class, but I was using it to also make videos, just, for fun. Really, I wasn't filming anything. I was filming like stupid shit, like plants or like building. Like, I don't know what I was filming, but it wasn't good. Like the things that I wasn't producing anything amazing. But yeah, I remember just like I got really inspired by Casey Neistat to just like make videos, and so I was making videos for fun. And my my best friend, he also knew of Casey Neistat, and he was also getting that same kind of spark of inspiration. And we were talking one day at my desk, and we were talking about we were talking about just New Zealand in general, how the market was kind of wide open for that. And we were also thinking to ourselves, why not produce videos, like advertisement videos for local businesses, and just make a ton of money off it? And at this point, we didn't really have a business plan, but we had an idea. And so that exact night, we came up with the name The Interlude. And we came up with the name The Interlude because to us it had a couple of meanings. We wanted to, oh man, like I said, we didn't have a business plan. So at this point, it's just, it's kind of all over the place. We wanted to produce, apparel, but we also wanted to make videos. Then we also wanted to make websites. Like it's confusing because we were confused. We didn't really have an idea of where we wanted to go with it, but we knew that we were excited for something. Up with the name The Interlude because for the video production, obviously, interlude means like a break, right? So we thought that when you were watching our videos, you would get a break from your everyday life. Or right. Or the other meaning was if you hire us to make advertisement videos for you, or if you hire us and we use social media consulting for you, you're giving yourself a break from having to do marketing, and we'll do it for you. So there's a couple of meanings behind it, but we also just thought it sounded really, really cool. That's
I mean, it's a good name.
This is why we chose it.
I like the reason, but yeah, continue on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, we came up. So that night, like, we just decided to. We were like, "Hey, do you want to start a company or a business?" And like, I mean, you have those moments, right, where you're like, "Oh wow, I want to like do this," or you get those like really exciting moments where you get like this random burst of inspiration to do something, and it was one of those moments. And I personally didn't think that it was gonna, develop into what it did. But that night we came up with the branding. I made the logo. We did everything. We made like a little animation for the logo, and from then on, I think we got. Oh, my business partner, he bought a drone. Okay, so he had a drone. He knew how to fly the drone. He knew how to capture video on the drone. And then I had just my handheld camera. And with those two pieces of equipment, we were able to get a job with this company called PGG Wrightson, which down in New Zealand, it's actually a pretty big corporate company. I'm pretty sure they're located like all over the world. I don't know how we got it, but they needed us to produce a video for like this local rugby game that they were throwing for like a charity or something. It was a while ago, so I can't really remember the details. But I mean, to this day, I can't really remember how we got that job. It kind of just like fell into our lap. Like, we had a website at this point, and what we were doing was we were using my freelance graphic design clients to kind of leverage our clients up a bit, and make it seem like we did some good shit. But in reality, it was just a lot of it came from my freelance. But hey, it worked out fine because we got that PGG Wrightson job, and after that we added that to the client list, and then everything kind of snowballed from there. So it's been a ride, man. We've done so many different things for different companies. We've met amazing people. It's been incredible because my business partner, I remember just watching him, fly the drone and like editing videos and stuff. He was editing videos on iMovie. And now I look at him and he has like we have a Sony A6300 which records video in 4K, and we have a 3-axis gimbal, the Ronin.
Wow.
So we have, our equipment now is just, compared to what we started with, it's next level. But we were able to somehow get jobs in this wide open market, and put money right back into the company to buy new equipment and to market ourselves even better. So it's interesting because the company evolved really from video production, which is what we started out doing. Obviously, we had the idea of doing video production, but while we were doing that, I think we also realized, like, wait a minute, I've done like social media for 4 or 5 years now. I've grown like my brand, Degarts. I've grown that brand. Why not try to grow other people's brands? And that kind of sparked another idea, and we're like, okay, cool, let's do social media marketing and consulting. So with no education on any of this, we were able to, I guess, self-educate ourselves with the internet. But it's crazy how this started. We got clients, we got paid pretty damn well, and we've grown from there. And now we have a website with a bunch of different clients, and we have a solid portfolio, and people know us because we have a company car.
Wow.
So if you see us riding around town, you'll see the company car. Yeah,
that's really done well. It's funny because I've never heard you talk about Interlude before. I've never even seen you really promote it that much on your social channels.
Yeah, that's actually true. I don't know why, but I mean, I guess it's because most of my following is just sports related. Like, people who follow me, they like sports, and they're kind of following me for the designs or whatever. And I also feel like a lot of people who follow me are in the States as well.
Yeah.
And we're specifically in New Zealand because if we were to start the same company in the States, we would get destroyed. We would get destroyed.
Yeah.
because the competition is just insane. It's crazy. But to put it into perspective here, we're kind of like our company and our business model is very similar to Gary Vaynerchuk's VaynerMedia company. We do very similar stuff to what they do.
That's very cool, man. That's very cool. I haven't heard much about, your company there, Interlude, and that's a good backstory to it. And I appreciate you sharing that on here. Actually, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. It's a weird. Trust me, this is really weird. Like people, when I tell people about what I do, and I'm like, yeah, I do freelance graphic design, and I also have like my own company. They're like, wait, what? Like, what are you doing? It's pretty crazy, but I think you would know this as well. Even like with starting in design, there's so many things that you have to sacrifice if you want to get better,
right?
If you want to perfect your craft. So there was days where, it's Friday night. I know all of my friends are out, but me and my business partner, we're working on the business plan, or I'm working with a client. I don't like the word grind, but that's what it is. That's what you need. You have to make sacrifices, and doing some crazy shit with friends on a Friday night. Yeah, you gotta sacrifice that. You gotta come home from school after a long ass day, and you gotta sit your ass down and just get to work. Like it's tough, but hey, it's worth it.
It's funny because I don't know if you know the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban.
Oh yeah.
He always says that when you're young, that is when to start your own company, especially today with social media. It's so easy. And if you have an idea, the best time to do it is when you're young. And, I think you're a pretty good example of starting a company when you're young and being pretty successful. So that's awesome. Like really very cool, especially in New Zealand to really dominate that market. I know a couple video production, companies here in the States, and it's very competitive, very, very competitive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And then one last thing I kind of want to talk to you about, because you've been doing a lot of it lately, is the streaming, getting onto Twitch.
Right.
That you've been pretty, much trying to do that daily, it seems like. What, like, because everyone obviously plays Fortnite. And then, like, is there, like, an end goal, like, what you want to stream? Like, do you want to stream just video games? Is it, like, IRL? Is there, like, other things you think would make your channel more attractive than just streaming just Fortnite?
I mean, absolutely. First of all, I just want to say that, oh, my God, I feel like everybody is trying to stream now. I mean, at least from the people that I know from like YouTube or whatever, like content creators on YouTube, I feel like a lot of people are trying to move to Twitch or get into streaming, and I think it's just because of how successful like Ninja has been. For example, everybody sees that and they're like, wow, everybody's kind of, they're trying to get onto this new platform and trying to make a name for themselves. And like I said earlier in the podcast, if you know me, I try everything. I try everything. So I wanted to try out streaming, and I really, really like it. It's super fun. It's exhausting, but it's amazing because, creating, I can see creating video production and creating videos and posting it on YouTube, that's one thing. But being able to interact with people live is it's a whole different experience. And I think that's what makes streaming so special, because I could be doing one thing and I could be talking to, the chat and at the exact same time. And to me, that's crazy. Like that, it's awesome. It opens up a lot of doors for just like new content that we haven't seen before. Like you could do a live. I was just thinking of ideas before. Like you could do a live show, like for the Pick Six. Like you could do almost like a live podcast, but you could have people interacting as we're talking, and you could answer questions. Like people would be asking questions, whatever. Like the interaction is what attracts me to streaming. But yeah, so I mean, I've started streaming. It's been a ride, but like you said, Fortnite is kind of it's taken over the Twitch platform, and I get it because it's the biggest game out right now. But one of the things that I've always had in the back of my mind is I kind of want to implement this graphic design element to my channel. I was thinking it could be kind of cool to do maybe like a live podcast, but even more than that, do like just me doing a retouch live, so you guys could see the process.
Yeah, like a live. It's almost like a live speed art. That's what I would call it. Yeah.
Exactly. But at the same time, you could be talking in the chat. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. It's cool.
I've thought of it before when you were doing the streams on Fortnite, and I don't think you'd started. That hadn't gone through my mind for so long. As man, what if I live streamed my designs? Because I was doing the speed arts on YouTube for a while, and it did okay. But I was like, man, if I could live stream what I'm doing while talking to people, that'd be pretty cool. But I don't know how productive that would be. Like, it would take me forever to get through a piece of artwork because I'd be trying to gather my thoughts while answering questions.
Right. Yeah.
But the avenue's certainly there.
I mean, it's an interesting idea. Like, you could try it out. I don't know. You could play with it. That's what I'm saying. Twitch opens up a lot of doors for just new content creation ideas.
Without a doubt.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's I don't know. You have Behance, right?
Say it again.
You have Behance, right?
Yeah, I have Behance, yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed on there, they now do live stream graphic design shows.
No way.
Yeah, I've watched a few. They're not bad. They're like tutorials. Almost. I think they've even done retouching, to be honest, on there. But it's not. Right. It hasn't caught on too much yet.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's new for sure. It's definitely new. But they're trying something.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, I didn't know if you had seen that. I thought that was pretty cool that they tried that out. But yeah, no, Dan, I appreciate you again for coming on the show, especially on short notice. I literally hit you up this morning when you were sleeping, and for you to make yourself available was great. And guys, if you don't follow Dan, you call it Degarts. I was calling you Degarts for the longest time. I'm not gonna lie.
Degarts. Listen, man, it's whatever you think it is. That's what it is.
Well,
it really doesn't matter.
So you follow at Degarts on everything, right? Twitter, Instagram. Yeah. I don't know if your Twitch is, but
it's just Dan Zaruba.
Dan Zaruba. Okay, but yeah, that's where you could check him out. Give him a follow. And that does it for another episode of the Bad Design Podcast. Appreciate you guys for listening. Please subscribe, like, share, etc. And hopefully we'll be back with another episode soon.